Howdy, howdy. Welcome back to yet another Workshop Wednesday. This week's edition is Beyond Basics. This is for those of you who have a little bit more experience with some of these tools. In particular, today we're going to talk about how to use GA4 Explorations to improve your conversions, which of course is the whole reason that we are here. Before we go too far into this, welcome if this is your first Workshop Wednesday. My name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I'm the co-founder of a company called measurementmarketing.io, and whether you found us through the podcast and talks we're out there giving, maybe you found us through some of the other platforms that we share a tiny bit of our content with, maybe you're already a full-fledged member over at measurementmarketing.io, whether a free toolbox member, an academy student, academy professionals, lots of options available for you there. That's our just-in-time platform that's there to really help you learn how to do all of this stuff. In particular, with GA4, because that's the new kid on the block. So there's a quick screenshot of kind of a virtual representation of what's in the Academy. We'll talk more about that at the end of today's content. For now, though, focus on one thing from this workshop. Remember, the whole point of this is to learn to build your skills. But GA4 is confusing. Let's face it. It's rough. And the explorations are even more confusing. So in order to learn these things, you build one skill at a time. That means you focus on one thing, either maybe hearing something slightly different, or maybe you see, the freeform or the funnel report or whatever you're about to see. Practice that one thing, then come back, rewatch this workshop, and you'll pick up another new one thing. And that's how you build skills one step at a time without getting overwhelmed and frustrated by everything. All right, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? Beyond Basics, using GA4 Explorations to improve conversions. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive right in. We always start with the framework. When we plan, we build, we launch. And where does today's training fit in? Well, as marketers, we are typically marketing in the blind. We're trying to get to a point where we just use a measurement system that kind of automatically grows revenue and profits. Well, that is possible. First, we have to plan things out, then we build out our measurement, and then, of course, we launch it and actually start using it. The trick is how. So when we plan, we think about the questions we're going to answer, we think about the information we need to collect in order to get the answers, and we think about the actions we're going to take before any of this stuff even gets measured, right? Just what actions you're going to take based upon the answers you get. Then we move into the build. In the build is where we measure our results. We call them ACE results. You've probably seen that in some of our other workshops, and you will certainly see that today. We see traffic. Got to make sure the UTMs are all set up properly. And then, of course, we have what we call a setup. This is where you start to see a story between which traffic is going to cause which result. Then we launch and we actually listen to stuff. Now, this honestly is where today's training is going to focus in, because listening is really kind of listening to the conversation that's happening between the website and the users on that website. You want to find trends and patterns, and the exploration reports in GA4 are fantastic for this, as you will soon see. Then once you've got your trends and patterns, you can actually start to forecast your future trends and patterns. Now watch in this training how we are doing that, because Julie, who is about to go through this training, came up with a brilliant idea that I want you to be on the lookout for. It's definitely my one thing. So we'll talk about more of that at the end. But definitely look to see how we are seeing forecasts in GA4. And then, of course, once you measure against your forecast, it'll sort of just tell you where to optimize. You'll know the step that isn't quite working the way it's supposed to, and that, of course, is where you focus your resources, and that leads to more revenue and profits. So that's the measurement marketing framework in a nutshell. Of course, I already mentioned returning champion Julie Brade coming back to show us how all this stuff goes together. She's been teaching this stuff forever. Many of you already know her. If you're an Academy student, professionals, Academy agencies and teams, part of the certification program, dedicated measurement management, you know Julie. She is a rock star back there. She runs the instructor team as well, helping out all of our students learn all of these fun, cool tools. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let Julie Brade take it away.
Thank you so much for that great introduction, Mercer. Let's go ahead and hop in, and we're going to start here in our Explore reports. And as you can see, we have the word Explore, and we have the word Explorations, and sometimes you will even hear the word Explorer. So just be aware that sometimes those words are used interchangeably, especially in documentations from Google and other experts out there, just because the name kind of keeps changing a little bit. Explore, Explorer, Explorations, but we're all talking about the same thing, which is basically a new way to visualize your data inside of GA4. As we remember with Universal, or you might be aware with Universal, we had some capabilities to visualize the data, but not very much, and you were kind of limited of how you were able to kind of organize that data. So what we want to do today is basically help us build a funnel so that we can understand where perhaps maybe the funnel is, where there's a leak in the funnel, so that that we can optimize it. So I'm going to bring over a different screen real quick just so you can kind of see where we're going so you can decide if this is the workshop for you. So in this example, we have something that we call our eyes on the journey. It's basically just we give our Google Analytics Universal and GA4 signals that for different areas. So we have impression, introduced, interested, investigated, initiated. You do not need to understand each one of those particular steps. You just have to know that at different points of the user engaging with the page, we have these different signals, and we want to know where are they falling off in the funnel. And here we have a great visual that lets us see that. Then even the best point here is that we have our forecast. And so we have, we know that we want 88 to 93% to go through, and we're hitting that. And with this third step, we want about 55 to 65% to go through. We're barely hitting that, but we are technically hitting it. And then finally, on the fourth step, it's 30 to 40%, and that's clearly where we're not hitting the mark there. And then even though we're not hitting the mark here, we are just barely under the goal of the forecast for here. So how would we want to optimize this? Would we start here at the very top and start changing maybe the headline copy? Probably not, because we would realize that no, the exact place we need to optimize is in between these two sections. And so it might depend on page to page what that might be. But in this particular instance for this page, just so you want to know, it is actually the body of the copy. We're not providing the value so they can go investigate the offer. So that's just how this particular flow chart works. It's actually called a funnel exploration. So just kind of if you're looking for that, that's what this one is called. I'm going to show you another example where we actually build one. And this is using kind of like a higher level. It's using our ACE results. And so we have aware and engage. There it is, aware. And let me break this down. I was playing around with this for you. We have aware, complete, and engage. So I just renamed these, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But we have, this is our awareness, this is our engagement, and this is our completion. So just basically, again, giving Google Analytics or GA4 different signals to kind of see how users are flowing through the page. And we have a forecast here that we can use to look at this. And this is exactly what we're thinking here. It's like, ooh, we need to bring this number up. So we wouldn't go and start messing with the cart page because the cart page doesn't need to be worked on. It's actually the offer page that would need to be worked on in this particular instance, in this date range and all that other fun stuff. So that is the high level of how we can use Google Analytics to be able to optimize. This could be used like if you're not ready to use Google Data Studio to show off your dashboards and stuff like that. If you're just trying to maybe build out the concept and see how this would work before you're in Data Studio, if you're learning Data Studio, not quite ready, and just so you can possibly see what that would look like, here's the same concept. We have aware, engage, and complete all the way through a different date range, obviously. And then we also have, this is the eyes on the journey you just saw, that in a different flow. So this was us kind of, we're ready for a data studio. We wanted to have the conditional formatting. We still have our forecast and all that. So this is the next level. But however, you can absolutely still get a useful truth and still be able to optimize inside Google Analytics 4. So just in case if you're not ready to use Data Studio or you don't want to, you can still get a very useful truth and be able to optimize inside GA4. So let's go ahead and hop over here to do that. Now, as of middle of August 2022, if you come in here and try to create this report, it is, as of the past 2 weeks, it's acting a little bit wonky. And I'll show you what that means is if I come in here and I am not able to add any new metrics. I don't know why that is, but it's you used to be able to come in here and add and stuff, and it won't let you right now, no matter what we do. So just be aware to kind of that's going to be kind of a hopefully a very temporary bug that we'll see. But the best place to start, just so you can avoid any of that confusion and frustration, is start with blank. And highly encourage you to kind of play around with this, see how everything kind of fits together and all of that fun stuff. But we're going to choose a date range where we know we have data. And as you are probably already aware, Google Analytics 4 will tell you tell you flat out that if you are trying to look at today's data or sometimes even yesterday's data, you're not going to have anything there because it's about a 24-hour delay. It is a true 24-hour delay. So if you just set something up like yesterday was the 16th. So if you set something up yesterday, you might not see any data here yet. So just be aware of that, but you can definitely still get it kind of plugged in as long as you know all the different parts and pieces. So we're going to go ahead and add a dimension. You could add a segment. I'll show you what that looks like real quick. This is usually something a little bit more advanced and asking those very specific questions kind of once you have the base figured out. So we're not going to touch this one today in this workshop, but we'll start here with our dimensions and metrics, but just know you can dive deeper with segments. So let's go ahead and click on our dimensions, and I'll give you a really big hint. You probably don't need most of these to get started, to get going. I'm going to just show you real quick. It's going to most likely, you're just going to want the event name. So you can go through there and just use that. You might, if you're trying to use page URLs, you could look for page, and you could use page location if you are using the URL. So if you want to say they went from URL 1 to URL 2 to URL 3, you would use page location. If you're like us and you kind of build out your different parts and pieces, and I'll actually bring the other page back so we can have this here. So if we go to our configure section and we have all of these events here. So this is our aware, complete, engaged. And then we have all of our eyes on the journey here. And then we have down here another, if we explained it out, we have another aware, complete, and then there's another engaged on the other side. So if you have events that tell the story, then in here on this other screen, you'll choose an event. If you don't have events yet, then you can definitely use the page location because you're going to want this one right here. So that's the one that you will use. So we're going to use the event just because that's a little bit more advanced, and I want to make sure you guys know how to do that. The other one, page location, is pretty self-explanatory. So we're going to import now. And now we have just basically grabbed the data for this date range. And now we're going to choose metric. So remember what we just said, that as soon as we want to add in metrics to an existing report, it acts all wonky. So this is one of those things for right now, hopefully while they're fixing this little bit of a bug, it's only a temporary thing, but you have to kind of consider all of the different metrics that you'll want. Most of the time, you'll probably just want total users, but there might be an instance where you're looking for something else, like maybe an event count, if you're looking for video progression or scroll or anything like that. So just kind of be aware of what questions you're asking and which particular metric that you want. And remember, metrics, to know the difference between a metric and a dimension, is that metrics are the things you can do math with, like add, subtract, multiply, divide. And so that's just kind of a way to think of those, which ones you would want. So, all right, so we have import is the option we choose again here. And so now we have both of these. If you're grabbing a bunch, there might be a few moments delay. And the same thing as we kind of continue to build the particular dashboard, it'll take a moment. Sometimes if you have lots of data, it might take you about 30 seconds or so, but still pretty quick. All right, so I want to pull this guy back out of the way. All right, so now we have all of our different options here with this technique. And I'm actually going to, let's duplicate. And we're going to come back over to our Explorer reports just so you can see visually all the different ones. So we have freeform, and by default, that's what you're choosing. I personally have not found anything useful by using this dashboard when looking at a funnel flow. However, there might be an instance where that could be very useful for you, so always poke around and play with it. We do have other workshops that dive into more of these reports and kind of what you would use for them for. This workshop is all about how you would use GA4 to optimize, so we're not going to dive into those. But if you just want to see what each one of those different options are, you can come back and kind of get an idea. So we're going to focus on this funnel exploration. So that's the one we're going to choose here. And the visualization you want to choose is going to be standard. If you want this teardrop drop down, the trending is just basically line charts, kind of like you're used to inside Universal Analytics. The lines just going across possibly could be useful if you're trying to see if the data is climbing up, going down, or something like that. So that could be useful if you want to switch it. And you can go back and forth, which is really, really nice. So we're not going to worry about this right here or this one because we're not using the segments. We're not worried about that. So now what we want to do is choose our steps. And this is the part where all the magic happens. And so what we're going to do, we're going to start with our ACE goals, because remember that's aware, complete, and engage. I want to show you how to grab those event names. So what you can do is click on this this condition here. And so we're going to choose event, because that's what we have over here. And we're going to choose our very first event this way right there. So we have an Academy Aware, and I'm even going to put this Academy Aware, or as you saw with our other one, we had an offer page, and we just actually told you what it was. But we're going to keep this simple. We're going to say Academy Aware. And then we're going to choose a different step here, and we're going to say this one's going to be another event, and we could even type this if you happen to have a page location or something else. You can type it in, but as you can see, there's all kind of other stuff popping up, and you're like, no, let's go back and just find the easy one that what we're looking for here. So that's kind of just be aware that you can type it in, but if you're looking for event, usually it's just faster to get it in through here. And so now we're going to choose engage because that's the one where they view the cart. And so we're going to say Academy engage. And here is your pro tip. In order to get those forecasts inside of the report like you saw before, this is where we put them. It's not a sort of built-in step or anything like that, but this is our way of improving the system in our own little way so that we can have those forecasts in that context to know what these, like from this step to this step, should do. And you probably notice this part right here is indirectly followed by. So what does that mean? Is that you have indirectly and directly. So sometimes you might have a question of, did the user go from this blog directly to the offer page, and you would want to know if that is happening versus a user goes to a blog and then somehow eventually gets to the offer page. And so you have to be very careful with which question you're asking and the timing of those different events. So most of the time you're probably going to choose indirectly follow just because, you know, somebody might open up a bunch of different tabs and view a couple different pages and eventually get to the cart. But sometimes you might actually choose is because you want to know, are they going straight there? So just kind of be aware that you can ask different questions like that. So let's go ahead and choose our third and final step, and that is going to be Academy Complete. And we're going to choose our event, and we choose our Academy Complete here, and we're actually going to go ahead and add our forecast 1 to 3% cold traffic, which is from the users that are here all the way to here. And so real quick, we're going to go ahead and apply, and this is where it might take, you know, anywhere from 5 to 30 seconds. In this case, because we have a small date range, we are pretty quick with this. And so we have now just rebuilt our Academy Aware, Engage, and Complete, or as we call our ACE results, so A, C, E, and we're able to really quickly and easily see where we want to optimize on this particular page because we have our forecast. And now, as you know, forecast is what gives us actual context. That's the word I was looking for, context. So that's what you want to use. So let's go ahead and we're going to go back over here. Actually, we're going to name this real quick. We're going to say new ACE. So we're going to call it Academy ACE Results. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to go click over here and say Explore. And I'm also going to go here and my other screen just because I want to show you something real quick. So I have Academy ACE. This is one that I've done and the owner is me in this particular account. Here I'm using our demo account, which just happens to have Chris Mercer. You guys know that guy. And so I have this one, New Academy ACE Results. So it's a different name. If I want the other account, my Julie account, to have this, I can click here and I can share. There really isn't any sharing options besides this. That's it. And so it's not, I can't even choose just Julie because as soon as I share this, anyone who has read only is going to have access to it. So that could be great. But so if you happen to work with vendors and other things, that could be great. Or you can be a little bit more cautious about that. So just kind of just be aware of that. So we're going to go ahead and share. And I haven't refreshed my screen yet, so we're going to refresh, and it's usually there pretty instantaneously once we refresh. And there we are. So there we have it. And so I can come in. This is the Julie account, the one that did not build this. I can come in, as you can see, I don't have the options to edit this particular one. I can export the data, I can make a copy, which this, by the way, is brand new, and they haven't even announced this yet. I was actually recording this yesterday, and then like this popped up, and I'm like, well, I guess we're gonna record this again and practice this again. So we're gonna go ahead and make a copy just so you can see what happens. And so now I have a copy of this. Julie, this account, has a copy of this, and I can see and I can edit these if I want to change it differently. So if I wanted to copy this and now say instead of Academy Aware, I want to do, let's do Toolbox Aware. And so we're going to change this to Toolbox and kind of go through the exact same process, going through here, and then we can choose Toolbox Engage. And then if we want to do Toolbox Complete, and we very quickly, as you can see, if you have these events here, once you have like kind of the logic set up, it's pretty quick. We just changed this entire report in less than a minute. If we had our different forecasts, we would go ahead and add those in there as well. We're going to go ahead and apply. And now I can go ahead and say new tool, well, box ACE results. And so there isn't a save button or anything like that, because you can kind of see it's doing its thinking up there. And so now we have Toolbox ACE results, and it might help if I actually spelled that right, but that's okay for now. So that's how you would go ahead and copy those. And if I come back over here to our Explorer reports, when I copied, it did not save those share settings. If I come back over here and we're going to refresh the page just to confirm that the toolbox isn't there, even though I copied it, Julie copied it from the Chris Mercer name. And so you can see that the new toolbox one is not in this account, but it is over here because it was a copy of that I made. But obviously I could share and I could let this account use it as well. And you can also see the different icons, the type of those different sharing ones, shared, not share, or all, so you can have those different options there too. And so the other way, so the word that they use when you're inside the report is copy, and here they use the word duplicate, also very new. And so just kind of be aware of that. Who knows, they might change the word so they both say duplicate or both say copy, just be aware. All right, so the other thing that you can do is come over here to blank, and we're going to kind of do the same concept. We're going to choose our dimension, which is going to be our event name, because that's what we're going to use here. We're also going to choose device category, just because that's desktop, mobile, tablet, and we want to be able to compare those. So we're going to choose import, and then we're going to choose total users, because again, that's usually what you're going to be asking, like what are the users doing as they're going through the funnel. And then we're going to choose, again, our funnel exploration. Don't have to worry about any of this other stuff right now. And then we're going to come in and choose our steps. And so another way to have your events listed here is you can say event, and we're going to choose our IOJ impression. So again, you don't have to know exactly what Eyes on the Journey is. Just know it's basically a signal or a group of signals that we use to identify how the users are engaging with the page. This signal is on, or all those signals are on our website all over our particular measurementmarketing.io site, because it's not just on the offer pages, it's on the cart, it's on all the offer pages. And so this is going to give us, as you can see, a lot of users. But I'm only interested in them doing it on one particular page. So we can come in here and say, and the condition, and when I say page location, a fun little tip, usually page location is lowercase with an underscore in between. In here, we want to do this. And here is another fun tip for you is when you are clicking to add a filter so you can define the page, if I come in here and paste the URL and click off, it does not save it. I don't know how many times I've made this mistake, so I'm hoping that you can avoid that by seeing this tip. So you want to click on the filter and then you could look for it here. And you can see it has the different formats and it does actually have the HTTPS. However, I prefer, and we prefer as measurementmarketing.io and our measurement marketers, to not have that included because sometimes that could narrow your results too much and you don't want that. So we're just using best case scenario and kind of less is more in this particular case of just having the portion of the URL that is identifying our Academy offer page. And so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that slash just in case if we're ever split testing and have different types of pages. And so I have to apply in order for this to actually work. So now we're looking at this event on this location, on this page location. So as you can see, our numbers changed. Then we can go ahead and do the next step. And again, we're going to choose our event here because it's super easy. We're going to go to introduced. And again, we're going to say, and we're going to type in page location, or we can look for dimensions, pages, and screens, and then I'll go all the way through that, but we're just going to search for it and make it a little bit easier. Again, getting rid of our slash there, and we're going to go ahead and apply. And so here is, again, remember we would name our different steps, so we can say Academy Impression, Academy Introduced, and again we can have our different forecasts. I believe it was 88 to 92%, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to show you real quick. If I were to click off of this, it would not save. So we always have to go and look for those little blue buttons, and we're going to press apply, and we will be able to have our different two steps here. These are really, really close together because we're trying to have 88 to 92% go through, and that's great. I'm going to go ahead and show you again the final result so we don't have to watch me build that whole thing. And so remember, we have all 5 of our steps and we have our different forecast. And if we wanted to, we could even choose to break down by device category. Remember, we chose device category, and perhaps we could find some insights to optimize from based on device or possibly traffic source. Maybe one traffic source is doing better than another because it's warmer, and you can learn something from that. Or as you can see with our desktop, it is converting better at this particular step that we already kind of knew was our troublesome step. Well, this one is actually converting, desktop is converting better than mobile. So perhaps we want to look at this particular page in a mobile format and see where we can optimize from there. And same thing as we go through and getting to our next steps, we start seeing some different differences there as well. And so this could be a way to optimize as well if you're breaking it down by device category. So I want to show you real quick how we have all of these steps figured out. So you can see, so we have our impression, and we have our actual page location all the way through. And so we have each one of our different steps. And so even if you don't use eyes on the journey, you absolutely could still use page location, or if you don't use events, instead of using, like we said, event here, you can come all the way down here, pages and screens, look for the page location, that's the one you're looking for, and then you can have your different URLs. So if you have a page location, it's going to add you to add a filter just like this one was. It's not a parameter there, but it'll be a filter, and you just go add in your different filters, and you can choose your directly or indirectly followed by. But the absolute most important thing is to put your forecast in here so you can know the context. You can have context because it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything that 18% are getting to this fourth step, whatever that might be for you, if you don't know if that's good or bad. Like that, you might feel like, oh, that's fantastic, but then when you actually look at all the numbers as a whole of what it should be doing, you're like, oh, we're actually less than half of where we should be. So that's definitely a spot where we want to improve. So with looking at data without forecast is not giving any sort of context. So absolutely figure out those forecasts for yourself. If you're not sure what those are for you and for your funnel, definitely reach out to us at Ask an Instructor Support. We're always there to help and guide you. So I'm going to show you one more thing, just in case you were wondering how the trended stuff looks here, as it takes a moment to kind of think. And then you have all of them, all of your different lines here. You can't really choose which color you want yet. Who knows if they're going to allow us to, which would be kind of nice if you wanted to have different colors, but you could see how you can choose your different options here, and it does look at this date range, and you can change this date range pretty easily there as well, so that's nice. And then, as you can see, we have a different funnel exploration 2 here, so we can have these different options. And so right now, this one is looking at it without the breakdown. This one is looking at it with the trended, and this one is our ACE results. And so this is just another way you can have these different tabs, and we can build in these different reports. And so this Eyes on the Journey report has these 4 different tabs in here. And so now we're building a new report inside of this actual exploration. So if I come back over here to explore, that same ACE results you were just looking at in the tab is not this one. It is part of this document. So if you have like perhaps a particular product, and they have, maybe there's a VSL page or a long form sales letter, and you want to measure how the eyes on the journey on that one, and then you want to measure the eyes on the journey on the cart page or something else, or like how they're engaging with each one of the pages all the way through, you absolutely can do that inside this. And then you can have like maybe like the Academy ACE results. It could be like the high level, like are they going from one page to the next, and seeing where that's at. So you can absolutely kind of have like a little book of all of these different reports for one particular purpose. And the cool thing now, as you know, you can share those or copy those as well, which is really cool, because that was not possible before. So you have that option as well. So coming back over here, we're going to go ahead and send it back to Mercer, as you now know how to use Google Analytics 4 to optimize your results. Over to you, Mercer.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Julie Brade. Again, if you're an Academy member, you already know where to reach her over at Ask an Instructor Support. Just send over videos and screenshots, and her and the instructor team will be able to send over videos and screenshots back to help you get unstuck and on the way as you are figuring out how to actually build out your own exploration funnels. Now, what was your one thing? I know I kind of prepped you in the beginning of this to say, okay, well, look at the forecasting stuff, but you see the trick she did, just putting it in the label. So freaking brilliant, because it's right there. Like, what should this step should be doing, and then is it doing what it should be doing? The other one thing that I really liked what you did, Julie, was the different tabs. Like, I don't think that's utilized that often because we're just not used to that in Google Analytics 4 or thinking like that. But now the exploration is a multi-tab exploration. So it's one exploration that's got 4 or 5 different explorations in it, right? 4 or 5 different reports, maybe a funnel, maybe a freeform, etc. So whatever your one thing was, practice that until it's a skill. Come back, rewatch this workshop, pick up another new one thing, and continue to improve your skills when it comes to improving conversions with GA4 using those explorations. Now, we think about the framework and how it fits in. Remember, mostly in that listen step is where that's going to be, but the forecasts are right there and the optimize is right there. So this is kind of like, as long as you've got your ACE goal set up or eyes on the journey or whatever the thing is that you're trying to measure for results, then it's all in using it, right? Listen to it using explorations, you forecast using explorations, they tell you where to optimize, again, using explorations. Now, next week's workshop is all about split testing mistakes. For those of you who have gone through that mess, it is a strategy session. So if you're not quite the implementer of your team, but you're kind of worrying about like, how do I think about it? Or how do I make sure that I'm doing this correctly? That's what it's all going to be about, all about strategy and avoiding split testing mistakes. If you want that workshop, just need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. By the way, we love the likes. We love the comments that you leave on YouTube. Super important for the instructors to be able to know kind of what topics you want and then some. We're not able to respond to every single comment on there, unfortunately, because we do reserve our support for the Academy members. However, you on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, super important. So please leave us comments. And again, thank you for all the kind words. We've got a lot of people sharing us. We're right about 5,000 now, which is nice. Soon to be crossing that. And then we'll move on to, I guess, 6. We'll try to get 6 in that way. Anyway, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do so. The other way that you can get these trainings is through the Measurement Marketing Toolbox. It is the free level of the Measurement Marketing Academy. So it includes Workshop Wednesday, which of course is the one you're watching now, and you always have it for the most recent week. You've got the YouTube channel for the rest of them if you want them. Meanwhile, you've got all these free tools like Traffic Tracking Toolkit to help you get your UTMs straight, the ACE Goal Planner to help you figure out your ACE results, kind of like Julie was talking about. There's lots of stuff back there, especially if you're a beginner, but also if you've got some experience behind you. So there's a Tag Manager recipe cookbook back there. Regex here is just so much that's back there, completely free. The only thing we ask is that you use it. To get your free membership, just go to measure.tips/WW. And you will see there on the page a place to create your free Academy membership if that's what you would like to do. Now, of course, you also have the paid levels of the Academy. That unlocks all of the Win courses. So all of our Google Analytics courses, all of our Tag Manager courses, Data Studio courses, and most importantly, things like this, the measurement strategies style courses, like how to think about things, because that's the secret sauce when it comes down to it. So if the Academy is right for you, please take a look at a paid option to see if it's ready for where you are. You'll see all the various options available to you, whether a free toolbox member, the student edition, the professional edition, if you're really just into measurement. And of course, we've got Academy for agencies and teams. If you'd like to go that route as well, if you have an agency, measure.tips/getacademy to see those options. And of course, if you have any questions, you can just email me if you have any questions. It's mercer@measurementmarketing.io. And I'll be happy to help with any questions that you might have on those. With that, we'll go ahead and bring this one to a close. This has been Beyond Basics, using GA4 Explorations to improve conversions. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one.